Well, good morning, everybody. This is Gulf Harbour Radio, ZNH286, Patricia and David. And we had a glorious day yesterday, and it's a very calm morning this morning. About time. It's safe to come back to New Zealand for all you folks that were beginning to wonder. It is 15 degrees, and I know that's not very wonderful, but yesterday was an absolute heat wave. We got 22 degrees here, but those on the east coast really had a boiler. Kawerau down there in the Bay of Plenty, 34.5. I think that was the hottest part of New Zealand yesterday, but all of the east coast really got a beautiful day. 31 in Christchurch and through inland Canterbury. Just absolutely lovely. 28 degrees in Tauranga. Not sure whether Marilyn got to Tauranga or not yet. If they did, it would have been a motor. Just absolutely glorious weather. And with this high, I know those of you who want to be sailing in probably are not very keen on the beautiful weather, but it is quite nice, even if you have to motor. Tuatara are motoring into Marsden. They're at 33.49 and 174.41. South-southeast 4, less than 1 metre. Freedom Song is doing much the same. He's got 67 miles to Opua with a west 8. Just a little bit of southwest chop, and absolutely lovely motor sailing. He's at 3425 and 17326. So just absolutely delightful conditions for the dolphins and those with a motor on their boat. I know one or two of you have not got that pleasure at the moment, but it is lovely. A lot of you who left probably a little bit early on Friday would have had to put up with some pretty snotty conditions leaving, particularly Fiji, but well worth it to get underway. And well, you knew that you were going to get it there, and rather there than here, as they say. So most of you now have passed through that horrible first period of seasickness and slopping down pills, but hopefully you kept the fluids up and you're feeling much better now. I wouldn't mind somebody finding out where Shandon is shortly if I can't copy him. But the other boats, thanks to Havili for keeping us in touch with the Tonga boats. Tango, well, we call them the Tonga boats. They left Tonga. Tango is about probably 26 at the moment, and Greyhound maybe 28. They've got about 8 to 12 east-southeast last night. Really good conditions. Gadabout near Minerva, 20 knots from the east, so can't get much better than that, can you, for having a good speed. KTG yesterday was I haven't heard from them this morning, they were about 21, 175, or 176 really, easterly 22 to 26, so really good conditions. Whistler, that's current, that's just come in, 2543 and 17342, getting 19 to 23 east-southeast. So they're ripping along, 2 metre south-southeast swell, 50% cloud cover. And intrinsic, no wind for you guys, but you would presumably have much the same as Malachite. Malachite, we're at 2526, 17419. Really whipping along, 8.5 knots on 210, 20 knots from the east. So fantastic conditions for them, 1.5 metre swell, 1019, 60%. So they're almost halfway. So yeah, everything going quite well. And here's the Shandon report for Monday morning. Pretty rough start for you too, because you left fairly early. But this morning Shandon was at 21 south and 174 almost, 17353, with that 95% cloud cover and an east-southeast of 19 and a southeast swell of 2 metres. Good morning to you, David. Thanks for that report. Come in well this morning, and I suspect it might have come from Sue. Anyway, that's about it. I know there are people wanting to get moving. So we'll be handing over to David just after the top of the hour. Shamata, good morning to you guys. None, no wind, 1018, scattered clouds, local talent. Good morning to those at Opua, Boy, I turned on the AIS last night to have a look. There's an absolute deluge of boats coming from Tonga, Minerva and Fiji at the moment. But local talent is not even looking at that, too busy replacing the refrigerator that died on passage. Well, just as well as at the end of the trip and not the start of the trip. Okay, and Lupan, good morning to you guys, heading down to Whangarei today. All right, so I just have to say, looking at the satellite picture, that New Caledonia again has the best of the bunch of the weather. All that muck over Fiji is moving away, but it's still going to be around today. We'll wait and see what David has to say about that. Just a little bit of news from the weekend. Of course, it was a sporting weekend, as it usually is in the weekend. And South Africa in the World Cup had a good win over England, 32-12. But really, there was South Africa. It's just hard to believe for those of us that are a bit older and remember all the demonstrations, and when New Zealand finally decided not to play South Africa because of their apartheid system. But now they were led by a very black man who did the most stunning speech at the end of his win. He led the South Africans very well. Just so much change in what is really not all that long a period of time. It's amazing. And he called for South Africa to be as united as their rugby team. But they have a lot left to do on that score. But yeah, an interesting fellow. He's married to a white person, I think it is, certainly not a black person, and suffers an awful lot of abuse, but certainly came through to lead their team, who actually benefited in the final run from their loss to New Zealand earlier in the tournament. That really gave them a good spurt on. Okay, what else was there? Well, the Tongans, if you're still in Tonga, they're absolutely ecstatic in the league. They beat Australia 16-12, so that was pretty exciting. And our New Zealand Black Sticks are into whatever they had to get into, to the World League, because they beat, I think it was Korea, in the weekend. So all in all, not too bad a weekend, apart from the Friday night, where, well, for Wales anyway, they lost to New Zealand in the third place position. Okay, what else is news? Oh, by the way, I still am looking for Knockandoo's email. If Darren, if you could send me your email address, please, that would be good. Let's go to America now. In the US, it's 1 year away from elections, and Beto O'Rourke, the Democratic guy from Texas, he's decided to withdraw from the lineup. He's certainly decided that it was a waste of time. He's very, very much against guns over there, so I think he would have had a bit of a tough time had he got through. So the only youngish one is Buttigieg, and all the rest of them are the old school. So we'll wait and see what happens with the Democrats. If they ever stop working on impeachment, they might get around to sorting themselves out, and we would know what they were going to do in a year's time.
Might do something for the country.
Might do something for the country, says David. Yep. All right. If you are from the US, they ended daylight saving over the weekend. We are on daylight saving now, as you know, and the time is about 5 to 8 New Zealand time. No daylight saving in Queensland, so you'll just stick to the same time there. But there is daylight saving in New South Wales, so it's all very confusing, I know, which is why we stick to UTC. And I have just a note here to thank those that are providing conditions as well as your position report when you're checking in on the websites, the various websites. It is quite useful. David does have a look at those. We have a look at the ones at night time. And this morning, a couple of you are not, and that doesn't make it very helpful to us. But then again, you might not be listening, because if you're not interested to even document the weather, then you're probably not interested in hearing what it might be. Okay, just a little bit of history, and this relates to something that's going to happen in a week, or less than a week. Mercury Bay in the Coromandel was so named because Charles Green, who was an astronomer with Captain Cook's first voyage, he saw the Mercury transit when it moved between the Earth and the Sun, and he happened to be at the place that they then named Mercury Bay. It's a really nice spot actually if you're down this part. This was 250 years ago, and on November the 12th this year, another 250 years on, the same thing is going to happen. Mercury will transit in front of the Sun and between the Sun and the Earth, and we'll be able to see it silhouetted. Not a great view from us. It will be early in the morning, so probably best if you're still at sea. Don't know whether you will be then. Hopefully not, because I think David wants you in before then. But anyway, early in the morning between 6 and 7 o'clock, evidently you will see the transit of Mercury.
Yeah,
and most of you will have to see it then if you want to see it, because you'll have to wait an awful long time for the next one, another 250 years.
be bloody careful though. Looking at
Yes, you have to be very careful. Do not use binoculars. Okay, just a bit of business news. Kathmandu. Many of you have Kathmandu products. I don't think we've got any on Chameleon. We tend to use old things on Chameleon. But anyway, Kathmandu Holdings have purchased Rip Curl. That's an Australian surfing brand. Costs them about 350 million Australian dollars. Kathmandu is based in Christchurch. The major shareholder of Kathmandu is an interesting fellow. He's called Rod Duke. He is actually the managing director of the Briscoe Group, which is a huge group in New Zealand, big stores. He's certainly been in the news here in Auckland. He had his home in Remuera, but moved to Herne Bay after he got approval for a huge boat shed right on the beach, which has really upset the locals. But what has upset them more is that he is now applying and will likely get a helicopter port on the boat shed. He wants it so that he can get to his golf courses quicker. Herne Bay is really, really close to Auckland. I mean, it's right there. So he certainly doesn't need it to get to work, but he wants it to get to the golf course. Oh, how the other half live. And evidently this is about the third or fourth person in Herne Bay that's got helicopter access, so the locals are getting a little bit fed up with the whole thing. Okay. I haven't got much else in the way of news, actually, because there's not an awful lot to report. The weather, of course, has got everybody quite excited here in New Zealand because, I mean, we did have an awful October, but it is now November, and sure enough, things are settling down a bit. So, although things are a little bit late, we're all out in the garden, flopping around in the water, doing things like sitting in traffic jams on the road and just doing all the things that people usually do in summertime. I know many of you, when you come, will probably get a car and move around the countryside, which is great. What you should know are the New Zealand holiday periods. It's not as bad as it used to be. It used to be that New Zealand totally shut down from at least Christmas Eve through to about the 20th of January. There's long weekends in January. Both Wellington and Auckland have long weekends, and basically many of the businesses, and especially the professional people, lawyers and doctors and all the rest of it, tend to close down. So it's very hard to get anything done. So if you are out and about and you're expected to drop in to get a motel somewhere, that is not a good period to try and find space anywhere in the country between the end of, well, certainly the schools finish about a week before Christmas, and then they go back at the end of January. So that period is really, really busy. Probably best to avoid anywhere if you want to find accommodation. It's the same really with if you're around, certainly in a radius from Auckland. Boating is fairly busy at that time, but certainly there's lots of places to go to avoid it all. But come February, it's lovely. The only people left to go back to work are the students at universities. They go back at the end of February. And then March is an absolutely delightful month because there's nobody around and the weather is very settled in March. So you have to sort of just decide what you want to do. Those of you who are buying cars and wandering around, the best place to find cars is obviously in the big centres. Auckland, of course, would be the most obvious choice, followed by maybe Whangarei. But there are plenty of cars around. Look on Trade Me to get a good feel for the cars. Trade Me is the New Zealand version of eBay. Just go on Trade Me and you'll see you'll get a good feel for what a car costs, and make sure you check it out properly before you get going. Okay, let's have a look. Now, Port Dinnerau, cloudy, 1013. And Tanisha, hopefully you got the email to say just hold off for a bit before we see what's going on Wednesday. Savu, good morning to Scoots. Cloud cover's about 50%, light east-southeast, and they're going to start moving around to Dinnerau. It's interesting that people go around to there before they leave. Always puzzles us why you would want to go west to get east. But anyway, Amazing Grace, good morning to you. South-southeast, 5 to 10 at Dinnerau. Valix and Dinnerau, and same sort of conditions. And Diamo's in Taveuni, heading to Savu, the opposite direction. And they're going to look at a Friday departure for New Zealand. It's gusty down there in Kendavu, 8 to 18 southeast. Absolutely amazing that you are on streaming down there. Things have certainly changed communication-wise. Okay, I'll just see if there's anyone we can hear. I will tell you, it's very embarrassing to have to tell you this, that when I went up on the roof to check things out, I couldn't work out why I had a very big SWR. All of the silicon goop that I had around the ends of the radials that are strung across the roof had sort of disintegrated with the sun and the rain and the wind, etc., etc. I knew it was something to do with that because things, when it was windy, were very fluctuating. So that I have left but sorted about so that we are hopefully transmitting okay at the moment, and we will sort that out over the summer. And it was very bad that we didn't do anything last summer. So that silicon goop has been there for 2 seasons now. And here's me telling you guys to make sure all your connections are good. I will be going down to Birdsko today to get some Denso tape. This is this really good greasy stuff. No matter what you put on, by way of silicon goop or that stretchy black stuff, you certainly need to wrap things in Denso tape to make sure that you don't get any problems with water ingress or whatever happens when you've got too much sun on stuff like silicon. So very embarrassing that that's caused the problems that I have experienced here in the last week or so, and certainly I've got a bit more work to do over the summer, but we won't do anything between now and then because knowing us two would probably mess it up.
Murphy strike.
Murphy will strike and we won't have anything, so we'll just deal with what we've got at the moment and then we'll sort it out over the summer. All right, I'm just going to do a pause to make sure that we still don't have any radar. Okay, it's not too bad, and I gave a call before. If you want to do any check-ins, the time to do it is earlier on, but we will do another check after David's finished, but he's got quite a bit of weather because I think there's been a couple of changes, and we'll get that done first. Here's David.
Okay, good old Murphy. He's always around. And good morning to all of you. And I hope the ones in Harbour had a pretty good weekend in spite of the numerous amounts of froth activity scattered about the island groups. Comes, it goes, but quite a bit of it. Last night I was looking at New Zealand Met, and I hope you look at it too, for their synoptic analysis and their frogs. Remember, these are charts that are put out and massaged by meteorologists, so they're not models. Anyhow, they normally use UK Met as their base model for their nesting process, and then they go on from the nesting to actually give a forecast depending upon what the person sees regarding that. Anyhow, they decided on NSET, yesterday. You would know it as GFS. And in fact, they're using it again today, so that's kind of interesting. Anyhow, as Monday develops today, we see the nasty Eastern Depression, still nasty for sure, due east of New Zealand. It's about 978 millibar. It's a big hole in the atmosphere, that's for sure. And that's pretty much south of French Polynesia. So it's still causing a squash, but the zone is well east of the dateline now. So that's a big, nice present for us to having it move off to the east a bit. Now the high to the west is medium strength. The center is just west of New Zealand. If I had to peg the center, I'd say 36 and 175 east. So we've got anticyclonic flow over the cruising routes, also good news. And that's pretty much what we predicted on Friday would happen, so that's good. In the mid to the western Tasman, we've got cyclonic flow, multiple depressions, fronts, troughs, you name it, all moving east toward New Zealand. So let's take a look at 500 millibar now, and I'm picking the prog for tomorrow about lunchtime. There is an awful lot of upper level action, if you will, a lot of activity. If you picture New Zealand to the islands, that area, you'll find a very nice ridge, which of course sustains our surface eye. This is a 500 millibar ridge. But to the west, the progs indicate a very sharp shortwave trough. The axis runs up and down the Queensland coast. Upflow, of course, occurs east of the axis. So anyhow, on the surface analysis for tomorrow, we are going to see a depression forming Tuesday into Wednesday, actually. Wednesday morning, it should be in the neighborhood, the center will be in the neighborhood of 33 south and 160 east. And it's winding up quite nicely. It's going to be quite an active depression. But by lunch Wednesday, lo and behold, it starts to fall apart. So by Thursday, which is the 7th, there isn't much left of it from what I can see. So we shouldn't talk too loud about that. If Murphy gets wind of it, he'll change things for us. So it's looking good to have that disappear on us. Now also late Wednesday, our Tasman high just broadens out, and it covers virtually all of the cruising routes. At 25 south, easterly winds between 170 east and 175 west. So that huge area in between, that's the direction of the wind, easterlies. Very light air if you're down at 30 south, probably a motor, I would guess, down there. And then 33 south to New Zealand, very light westerlies. Now, west of the high, you're going to see northerlies. East of the high, you'll see southerly quadrant winds. So if you had your analysis in front of you, you'd see what I'm talking about. Late Wednesday, I see wind shifts. So between 170 east and the dateline, 170 east and the dateline, northeast winds. I'm getting crooked on holding the microphone here, and Trish is she's twisting my hand. Yeah, that's better. Okay, now, where were we? Late Wednesday, the Tasman high, like I said, broadens out considerably, covers the entire cruising route. So we've given you the winds, 25 south, the winds 30 south, and between 33 to New Zealand, the westerlies. So that's repeating all of that. Now, I would say, looking at late Wednesday, very late Wednesday, toward midnight, thereabouts, I am seeing wind shifts, as I just mentioned, between 170 east and the dateline. So northeasterly winds is what I see. And virtually the same thing for Friday the 8th. Now we're getting near the date where you have to be getting pretty darn close to New Zealand. So there's a very weak frontal band on the 8th. It's going to pass overhead. Not much in it. Looked like there might be a little bit, but I don't think we ever thought that it was going to be much, and it still doesn't look like it's going to be much. So by late Friday, it may very well be gone with the wind's northerly quadrant. However, Saturday the 9th now, slightly stronger frontal band. So there's definitely a second front. It is going to be stronger, and it's still going to be with us on the 10th. That's a Sunday. Now, most should have arrived New Zealand by then. Try to avoid this front if you can. We'll have cyclonic flow over New Zealand right through Tuesday the 12th. Now, the next high is going to move onto the Tasman about that time as well. So we'll be looking at southwest winds for New Zealand. So just to say that again, we were looking at the 10th for arrival, but I think it's gone a little bit faster. So we should be looking at the 9th at this point in time. And based on those of you who have left already, it shouldn't be any problem from what I can see. Now, those who have not left New Caledonia to Oz, I think you may forget about this week. The upper levels and the surface conditions are going to conspire, I think, against you. Cyclonic flow due to the developing depression to the south. A few of you have emailed in and have talked about this, so it's good that you picked it up, and it looks like it will be there. The frontal band over Norfolk Island will reach north at that time, so the winds are going to be northerly on the east side of that, but almost the opposite direction on the other side. Now for the Minervans, I think probably everybody's left. There's a few that are heading there now, but the ones that we've been in communication with last Friday and whatnot, I think most of them have gone. So that's good. You should make it to New Zealand before that 10th that we talked about. You really want to try to do that. All yachts, again, I'm just going to repeat it one more time, looking to arrive in New Zealand 8th or the 9th, not the 10th. So that's about the third time I've said it now. So pay attention to that. That 10th one does look a little bit aggressive and not very pleasant at all. The systems have sped up a little bit. That's the problem. We thought last Friday that you'd sneak in on the 10th, but things have started to move a little bit quicker. The upper levels have moved a little bit faster, and therefore we're getting this thing sooner than we thought. Those who left very late for this window, up in the islands that is, may not appreciate the arrival weather that they're going to get at that point. So you really want to look at your grids carefully and your arrival weather plan. You may have left it too late, but a lot of you are going to Minerva, in which case it doesn't matter. And for those of you new to the Southwest Pacific, and we're finding out that there are a lot of boats this year, that this is your first time that you're here and the first time that you're making this passage. Windows for a reasonable passage here, they pop up. So you have to be ready on your yacht. If you're thinking about coming to New Zealand right around this time of the year, you've got to get yourself ready. You've got to have the crew ready. You've got to have the yacht ready. No last minute fussing about. No looking around for fuel. Have your boat fueled. In other words, you're all set to go if somebody says go. We've seen too many delays caused for one thing or another, and the whole passage plan has gone to hell because of it. So anyhow, Patricia has hammered this time and time again. So that's for your new people. The old timers here, or the people that have done it before, know all this. Okay, up in the tropics, quickly, multiple troughs are scattered about up there. One from the Solomons to northern Vanuatu, northeast Vanuatu. Another one near Fiji to Tonga. There's another one between Vanuatu and New Caledonia, and so forth. Just a fair amount of activity, which you would expect this time of the year. Looking at Tonga then, there's plenty of cloud on imagery, so expect this and scattered showers today and tomorrow. Tonga Met has issued a strong wind warning and a small craft advisory for all Tongan waters. And on top of this, expect a heavy damaging swell for the group. Now, they are forecasting up to 3 meters. So that's quite a bit of swell for these little areas that you happen to be in. Wind-wise, expect east to southeast, 15 to 20, rising to 25 knots at times. That's near Bavau. Somewhat later if you're in the south. Now things are going to ease tomorrow. I would say south to southeast in that range, and in the 10 to 15 knot range. Fiji shows plenty of cloud on imagery, moving quite rapidly, actually, if you were to look at the loop, more or less west to east. So with these clouds, expect brief showers, virtually the same thing tomorrow, but more apt to see the showers in the afternoon. The winds by lunch today, east-southeast, getting up to 20 knots. Later tomorrow, east to east-southeast, 15 to 20. And on Wednesday, we could be looking at easterlies. Thursday and Friday, the winds are going to back even more. We're looking, I think, east to east-northeast. So that's Fiji. Vanuatu, quite a bit of cloud there, especially to the northeast of the group, as we said. A fair amount of wind, east-southeast, 20 to 25 in the open water. Light air to the far north of the group. Tomorrow looks like easterlies, 15 to 20. Then the winds are going to shift on Wednesday. Actually looks like cyclonic flow. So if we were to look at the group, the north-south bunch of islands that make up the group, I think they'll be mostly northerlies. But if you look to the west, they'll be a different direction. So it'll be just a cyclonic flow at that point. Now, scattered cloud over New Cal this morning for our lagoon area, east-southeast, getting up to 20 knots by lunch. Tomorrow, easterlies 15 to 20. In the lagoon on Wednesday, I think we may look at southwest winds and possibly north winds. It depends where you are. And they'll be about 10 to 15 knots. So quite a variation on wind direction. Now actuals this morning, the outer reef, east-southeast, 12, gusting up to 23. Ile de Pan, southeast 6 to 10. And Noumea, east-northeast, 4 to 11. So those are the actual winds based on instrumentation that's there. So that's all we've got for you. Those of you that are almost at New Zealand, well done. As long as you get in around the 9th, 8th would be better. You're in good shape. And that's all I've got. So here's the chief.
Yeah, thank you very much for the microphone, and you'll probably notice that the microphone volume is now much stronger. It is amazing when David starts talking, he gradually drops. I have to give him some arm exercises. He drops the microphone and puts his hand over where the signal should be going. There's 150 watts, 150 watts difference between speaking into the microphone and having it dribbling down the side of your chin. So there you go.
What a rat bag. What a total rat bag.
Okay, is there anybody I think we've covered much of everything. We certainly hopefully cover what is required by some of our supporters, or all of our supporters that are still out there. Thank you very much for that. We really appreciate the support that we get. And it's time, folks, to remember all the people that do support you out there. If you use WinLink, for example, it's always very nice to send a thank you at the end of the season before you totally forget about WinLink when you're connected again. So just say a thank you to the people that do support you out there. Certainly David does an awful lot of email stuff, and it makes me wonder how people think that they can get all the support without doing something in return. But anyway, we do thank those of you who have supported us. It is appreciated, and it makes us want to carry on. Although I have to say we are really looking forward to finishing in 3 weeks' time. Okay, is there anybody that has something else that we need to cover? Any relays from anybody? The noise isn't quite so bad today. Looking for... I'm just looking at the ballot. I asked Scoots, in fact, why they're moving from Savu Savu to Dinnerau, and they are going to Dinnerau before they leave, so that they can have the very fun weather conferences on the dock. It did seem to me to be strange to leave the eastern side of Fiji to go west and then come back east again. But anyway, Alex is looking forward to the discussions. Oh boy. All right, is there anything else from anybody? No, all peaceful and quiet on the, just a shame because the radio is not actually all that noisy today after the little bit of effort on top of the roof. It is going to be another lovely day here, and in fact it's going to be a lovely few days, so
Breezy.
a little bit breezy, no, not too much. There's hardly anything moving out there from the south-southwest, and that high is moving in. It's losing a bit of oomph, which is probably good for those folk that are on the top end of it. All right, folks, have a good day out there, all you folk that are streaming towards New Zealand. I think those of you that are going to Australia are pretty much all there, and we will be back again tomorrow. I'm just looking at the streaming comments. Cheers, everybody. The frequency's all yours. Amazing Grace said they're looking forward to fretting over the... They're going to look forward to the fretting over the discussions. All right, we're going to shut off the streaming and go and sit in the sun.
Sit in the sun.